I'm actually going to let you know that we're going to record this as well, this webinar. It'll be available on our YouTube channel. So first of all, thank you everyone for coming and making some time to listen to this presentation. As you know, that so I'll just repeat, if you don't mind putting your microphones on mute, that would be really helpful for everyone so it can avoid background noise. If you I can actually do that myself, but it might be a bit easier if you could do it yourself, because I can hear some background noises. So as you know, and particularly with yesterday's announcement from both the Vic government and the federal government, over the past fortnight, Dixon Appointments has been trying to facilitate arrangements for our employers so that with temp staff so that they can work from home. We know that the shutdown is really confirmed, so what we want to do is set up our candidates in the best way possible, and this is actually a start of a series of webinars that we're going to run, so that we can help you ease into and transition into that environment. But we are excited about being able to deliver something quite differently to you and appreciate your patience and time. So in the start of this, what we will do is, as I said, if we could avoid, we would more than welcome your questions, and we would appreciate if you could give those to us via chat function, and that would be really helpful, because in that way we can have that, and Michael will take those details, and at certain points throughout the presentation I'll pause and see if I can answer some of those questions if Michael can't get them to you. Okay, so we'll just start. Sorry, and that's always a hard part of the starting, isn't it? Okay. Okay, these are some of the takeaways that we would like you to have from this webinar. We want to see you look at mobilising to remote work, so how you can transition and what you have as a bit of a checklist for yourselves in at home. Most of you will be working at home. How you can maintain productivity, and just some tips around how we do it ourselves. And we've been, as I said, testing this for a little while. I myself have worked from home for a number of years, between 1 and 2 days a week, and obviously are now working full time, so that's been an adjustment. And also looking at the connections that you can have and the communications, and how you can put yourself best forward for your organisation that you're working for. So in that, one of the first things that we recommend that you do is look at your internet and service. So making sure that you've got a fast, reliable and secure internet is really important. For example, I am with Telstra with my NBN. I got a text yesterday to let me know that they're going to be doing some works on the line on Wednesday. So I will actually look at my day on Wednesday and look at what I can and can't do. Even though it will revert to a mobile service rather than NBN, I know there's going to be disruption. So it's actually being mindful of that when you've got internet, and then how you can fit, whether you're going to hotspot off your phone or whether it reverts to something else. So being mindful of that is really important. And you can do testing on uploads and download speeds on your internet, and that might be of something that you can do. You can just, I think if you just Google a speed test for your internet speed, you can see that. And if you need to actually enhance that, then it may be something that it's worthwhile talking to your employer about. The other thing that I recommend is that having a good set of headphones, mic and camera. One of the things I should have said when I first started this is that you may get some background noise here. So other than people who are online with you, it's also those ambient sounds that happen. I have a four-legged friend that I work with here in my home office, and occasionally he barks at something random outside. So being mindful of that, or if you're with colleagues who are not colleagues, but flatmates and people, or your family that you're working with, that you actually have, so you have that background noise. So having a good headset and microphone, it can help with that. The camera certainly comes into play because of that helps us with our socialisation. I find that when we're working, particularly in this week when I've worked remotely, I've found that I've lacked that face-to-face contact that I've had in the office. And so even though I'm on the phone a lot, having actually seeing people or being able to see people has been really helpful. The other thing is actually having a quiet home office space. This is actually my spot. This is where I'm talking to you from. This is my dining room. For me, it's a good spot because there's plenty of natural light and I have an open space to work from. And you will need to set up a dedicated spot. I know that we see a lot of photos of people working from home on their couch, in their bed and all the rest. But I must recommend that having a space where you can go to, which is dedicated for your work, actually makes it a lot easier for you because then you can walk away from it. So the next is looking at how we're mobilising for remote work, but having some guidelines. So if you are with your flatmates, for example, you want to establish some boundaries when you're working from home because then they know that you can't be in contact. So it might be that you say to them, when I've got my headphones on, that means that I'm in a webinar or I'm talking to someone online, and that means I can't be interrupted. We at Dixon's have made a really big effort around diarising things into our calendars. So for example, we set really clear protocols with our team. We have a catch up in the morning with all of us for 10 to 15 minutes at 9 o'clock. We all get online through Zoom and we say hello to each other. We catch up on what we're doing, but we also then say, well, through the day, I'm going to be doing this, but then we also diarise it in our calendars so that, you know, between 4 and 5, that's actually when I'm going to be speaking to a client, so please don't ring me. Or it might be I'm going to take this lunch break. We've actually scheduled our lunch breaks so that we know when we're contactable, and this just allows us to set those boundaries and also being able to communicate effectively. And this last point about keeping productivity by avoiding procrastination and distraction. So it's really easy at home, and that's why I recommend having that quiet office space. I do things where I actually look at perhaps at the moment, particularly with COVID-19, I would look at the news early in the morning and then I actually don't engage with it at all throughout the day. I found it was a distraction and I switched off all my notifications on my phone because otherwise that was too distracting. I don't have, in fact, in the office we have music in the background, whereas at home I've actually elected not to. I have nothing at the moment that goes on at home because I find it too distracting. So that might be something that is of use to you as well. The next one we'll look at, looking at how you can maintain productivity. In productivity, one of the things that we've looked at in the research in regards to this was getting dressed every morning, and that doesn't obviously mean just getting dressed. It means that some people, they want to get dressed and they do their hair, they do their makeup, they get ready and dressed as if they were going to go to work. I find this particularly helpful, but I actually must admit I haven't worn makeup this week, but I certainly get dressed. I've heard of people who will get dressed the top half and maybe have the bottom half in tracksuit pants. But the whole point is that you're getting ready for work and you're actually responding to any calls that you have or any Skype calls you might have to do, and you're available and ready to do that. It also puts you in a mindset, and mindset's really important, that I'm actually going to start the day. Setting the times for you to start the day is important. So for example, saying I myself start work around 8, 8:15, 8:30 and finish at 5:30, and having those clear times makes it really easy for me to have those boundaries. Exercise outside. While we can, I encourage you to get outside because I don't know what necessarily the lockdown will mean. I've used the no commute time myself to walk every morning or run every morning, and that's been really helpful. If you live in an apartment, I still recommend you get out on a balcony, and if you can't get on the balcony, then open a window and get some fresh air while we can. It's important that you maintain that mental health, and that exercise does provide us with that. Or scheduling your breaks is very important. We, as I said, I tend to have a coffee perhaps in the first thing in the morning and then another one mid-morning, and I actually take lunch. So I've been a little bit guilty at work of sitting at my desk and eating my lunch, whereas when I've been working from home, I have deliberately taken a lunch break. And I found that it's really useful. It increases my productivity because I feel refreshed when I come back. When you're setting up your home office and area, those ergonomics are really important. I have found that I've had to do more standing up and stretching because I don't have a standing desk at home. I have one at work and I will spend some of the day standing, and I actually miss that, so I've got to stretch it out. So make sure you set yourself up comfortably, and I'm fairly sure that all of you would have received an assessment and some information on the ergonomics. If you haven't, please let us know, and we can send some more information for you on that. The other thing I do, which I've always done, is set up a to-do list. What I have found in this environment is that I've got rapidly changing projects. So I've actually set my to-do list based on a project basis. So if I'm working on one thing, I have a to-do list for that, and then another thing, a to-do list for something else. That actually keeps me on track and focused on things. I actually also then box my time, as in I will set aside in my calendar to say, for this time, this period this morning, I'm going to contact clients to check in to see how they're doing, or I'm going to check in with candidates to see how they're doing, or I'm going to then work on this project for that particular time. There are a number of tools that you can use for boxing in your time and time boxing. Pomodoro is one of them, where you can set a task for 20 minutes, for example, and then you can complete that task and then go on to the next. So there is a bit of research around having that focused ability to do something. So that's important. The next, in regards to maintaining that productivity, is looking at it from a team perspective. So this is such a new environment for many of us in regards to all of a sudden not having interaction with our team. And then how do we work with our team in ways that we haven't either worked before, or we're going to work with them a little differently? So I have to embrace my webcam, and I think I said to my team, perhaps it was Wednesday last week, and that was only after 3 days working from home, where I said to them, I'm really good. I'm talking to people on the phone, but I'm actually missing contact and seeing people. And straight away, some people called me and FaceTimed me. So that was really helpful, because that was a good way of actually seeing the expressions of people and smiling and having some sort of social connection. I do think you need to email less. Email doesn't convey emotion. It doesn't allow us to express ourselves the best way we can. And you can use email in regards to if you need to speak to a number of people with a list of instructions, or perhaps some objectives that you want to do and you want some feedback. But I think it's important that you increase the talking that you would do normally. So you pick up the phone. If you need to speak to multiple people, then I would recommend an online meeting using whether it's Skype or Zoom, and using those sort of things. Finding having that interaction. As I said, we have a morning meeting with our team, and we all get online to see each other for that day. So it's actually a good way to sort of interact with each other, but also enable us to know that we're not alone, because it can be a little isolating sitting at home and working solidly on your own. And it actually fosters that team environment and dynamics that we're after. Also finding a chat platform. So when we email less, it's having those incidental conversations and finding a suitable platform that works for you, whether that's Skype, Microsoft Teams, Messenger, WhatsApp. We have WhatsApp. We have WhatsApp groups, a number of different groups, whether they're team-based or whether they're project-based. They're actually a really good way to connect with each other. I've got client meeting. Well, I had lunch meetings with clients booked for this week, which have now been changed to virtual lunch meetings, and that actually can help because we all still need to eat lunch, but it's actually a nice way to socialise, and you can even do that with your colleagues, so that you can catch up with things that aren't necessarily work related, but they might be. You can have that ability to catch up on the water cooler conversation that you're not having anymore. We also, the practicing gratitude is very important because we're very used to saying thank you directly to people when we converse face to face. But when we are remote working, we forget to do that because we get distracted by something. So I do think it's important that we make an effort to recognise people who are contributing to your projects, or they've done something particular for you, or they're working with you on a particular thing. That's important to do. I think, have I got any chats? Let me just pause there. So, Michael, do we have anything from anyone yet? No? Nothing at the moment? That's fine. So feel free, everybody, to post what you would like to, if you've got any queries, or if I'm going too fast, please let me know. I'm just conscious of people's time. I think I'm going to pass on to my colleague, Jackie, because Jackie is going to talk about some of the communication and what you can do to be more effective in your communication to your teams. You right there, Jackie?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So when we talk about communication, especially working from home, it's very different from being in the office. So we need to make sure we have clear and fluid communication so we can help to guide the team. So there's a few ways you can do this to personalize it to your team or to how you work or the context. So there's asynchronous, ongoing messaging for simple matters. So this is so we can keep connected and available via text messaging apps like Slack. So this is more of a quick and simple way of communicating with your teammates. So there's also video conferencing calls where you can share your screen instead of in-person meetings. So you can do video calls by using Zoom like we're doing now. Also Google Hangouts to replace your previous in-person meetings as well. So you can also use those video conferences for area coordination, so setting up group video calls to align major activities with your area team members. You can set this up a few times a week just so you can check in and clarify any doubts that there may be. For documenting non-trivial decisions in a project, you can do this in a project management system. So decisions that more team members should be aware of, it's important to make sure that everybody is aware of it and leaving this in a place where everyone can access, such as Basecamp. That's a good one. So having a natural remote communication might seem to be challenging at the start, but this can greatly identify already existing communication and coordination challenges you used to have within your organisation. Yeah, so moving on to the next slide. So coronavirus or not, the key to working from home is clear communication with your boss and knowing exactly what's expected of you. So having really clear set expectations for communications day to day is really important. So it's probably a good idea just to see, check in with your manager to see if it's a good idea to have a 10-minute chat in the morning and then at the end of the day to just update them where you're at with things. So your manager might not be used to managing people virtually, or they might not already have ready to go a suite of tools for remote workers. So it's really important to communicate with them to ensure that you can seamlessly work from home. So even though, people might be experienced working from home, for those who it's new for, it may feel unstructured and isolating. So last year there was a study of remote workers who did mention that loneliness was the second most reported challenge for them. Yeah, so that can obviously impact their motivation and can cause them to be less productive. So when you do communicate with your boss and team from home, it helps if as much of it as possible can be richer communication. So that's face-to-face and instant messaging, such as on Skype, video calls, or on Zoom. Yeah, and go to the next slide. Yeah, I think we've covered that. Yeah, so it's also important to be mindful of your health. So making sure you have water breaks and healthy snacks at your desk to ensure you're refreshed and energized throughout the day. So it might seem trivial, but making sure you have healthy snacks, so avoiding sugary ones or having fruit with you during your day will help you keep refreshed. This will also help in reducing, procrastination as well, and having to get up to the fridge where you might also be tempted to indulge in some other foods. Try and have your lunch break at your usual time throughout the day. That helps to maintain that structure. So it's not uncommon for people to forget to have their lunch break when they're at the office. And this might even be worse when working from home, as you don't have the nudge of others leaving the office to do so. Yeah, so make sure you leave a full hour for lunch to eat properly. And if there's anything else that's non-work related that you can complete during that time, just make sure you use that hour. Also keeping a clean desk and home workspace. Although at your office you might have a cleaning service, you might not have this at your home. So just making sure every day you keep your keyboard, mouse and office space clean and tidy. So antibacterial wipes, if you have those, is a good way to keep everything clean. Yeah, so that's it for that one.
Thanks, Jackie. So as Jackie was mentioning, the isolation is often the issue that people experience when they're working from home. It is very challenging. It does depend on what your responsibilities are at home, but it is important that you avoid isolating yourself from your team, and we do recommend having the social breaks and setting up that virtual working environment. I have practiced calling friends and family at lunchtime recently just to check in to see how they are. And that's something that I hadn't done in the past, but it just helps me have some sort of social interaction during the day. I think it's when we work from home, having one day a week, if you're familiar with that, that is it's quite a productive day, which is what I've had historically. But then when you're having to do that on a full-time basis, it becomes a little less, it's not so novel, and it becomes a little bit harder to work to get, you do find it isolating. So setting up those daily group social breaks is important, and having video chats with your teammates at least once a day, which is why we've installed something where we have a daily catch up for a team meeting, and then connecting each other on WhatsApp. And we might actually just share something random that's going on through the day, whether it's we had one this morning of someone's cat who just kept staring at them through the workspace. But it is actually having that kind of laugh, particularly in these times where we're a little bit challenged as to what's going on in our environment, and we can't control that, but we certainly can control how we're connecting with others and how we're working with others. There are a number of tools that you can use in that. We've mentioned a few of them. But if you're working in a virtual environment, we use Trello for some of our projects. Some people use Slack, some people use Microsoft Teams. It's all dependent on what your workplace or organisation has. And if they don't have anything, it's okay to recommend some of them. Some of them are they're cost neutral, they're free, and for a particular level of service, you can get them for free, but they are certainly worthwhile to do. The next one I think is really going back to saying, if anyone has any questions, because I'm looking at the time and being conscious of time, so we've got 4 or 5 minutes left. And if anyone would like to ask any questions of us and see if this has been of any use for you, we will probably go back and ask you whether you would, what other topics that you would like. We have another that we're pipelining, a few that we're pipelining at the moment. And as I said, this is being recorded and it'll be uploaded to our YouTube channel so that we can send this on to you to watch at a later time if you need to. Does anyone have any questions at the moment? No? No? Okay then. Well, we'll end the meeting then. Thank you very much for participating. We do appreciate it. We hope that this has been, oh, hold on. Maybe we have, oh, wait, no questions? Okay, so there's a couple of ones here that says I'm fully able to work. Okay, so we have got some topics on in regards to able to work but currently in between assignments, so we can have a look at for you on a case-by-case basis. If you're feeling vulnerable in regards to the future it's a comment. We will look at some ways of having to manage your mental well-being, and we're hoping to roll that out by the end of the week. So all going well, we'll probably deliver something of an overview for your well-being around in Thursday or Friday. So I understand it is a bit of a challenging time. We do at Dixon's really want you to know that we care about you, which is why we wanted to put something like this, or why we've put something like this together. And we are looking at other ways of how we can work and interact with you, and we're only a phone call away, so please call your candidate manager or the person that you're from, who you work with through Dixon's, if you're feeling isolated and having that vulnerability. Okay. Yeah, so there is a bit of a challenge. The work environment, as in the recruitment environment, is a constantly state of flux at the moment. We are looking at alternatives of how we can work with employers and this was part of it, was to see how making sure that we could get our candidates to work from home. But yeah, I understand that there's been some challenges. Okay. All right. I might. Looking forward to working online. Okay. I think we'll leave it there. If anyone else, we will take all these chats that you've got. Sorry, any of these comments, that we'll take them offline as well, and we will look at working towards having some more information for you really soon. Okay, but please, like I said, if you've got any concerns, feel free to call and reach out to us. We're here for you. Okay, thank you.